디 단다 쇼랑 이제 제주나로디 다 기부 딩기다 시에선도 세대 년들이야 직들이치도 디 이제 제주 간다 이제 제주 체 비전디 준주 시티 와다 시에선부터 남기 메뚜비 조건지 출로미出신 대달에 개와차고 세다 기부 등커들다 심슈디 기도가지고 요르스다 영모 가축이긴 아니 즉 중보이나야 아니 영모라야다 카드에 짜투사에 섬섬게다 로고디 개버디 기부 등스고도스 이제는 뭐 이제 제주 last 다가랑 시에송과 따라 탐탐하대 와대 남지 메든비 초군지 출러미出신 고지 치료리게 가주주 정보이나야 안 나온게 시스템이다 얘기 들려야 카드 직접도 지다 아니 명목이 상황을 멘트거든 예체 투부를 제 기부 등커로다 생주제나 드시죠 그래서
The very last part of this, the very last part of the middling capacity being, thus do not allow, so further below there, just keep going down till the end of this whole section. Even more. There you go. No, even more. Thus, yes.
Yeah.
Thus, do not allow the factors incompatible with the path to inflict harm on you and conquer them all. Again, thus do not allow the factors incompatible with the path to inflict harm on you and conquer them all. So, whatever comes to you from the outside, whatever things that you encounter, then to not allow your mind to be swayed by the disturbing emotions, to have this confidence that you can overcome the afflictions, and striving for overcoming the afflictions and the suffering, and this is the mind that is striving for liberation, to be free from the afflictions and suffering.
So the past few days in this middle scope, how much we have to talk about the suffering, and then the cause of the suffering, and now at the end, once you see that how much you fell down, I am not going to conquer, I am not going to surrender towards the negative emotions anymore. And that kind of holding this kind of standby is the real attitude of the middle scope. So whenever the middle scope, somebody says middle scope, so then you shouldn't think about. But the middle scope is always thinking about suffering. So it's more like now, before, in order to bring a kind of I'm not going to surrender towards suffering, then we are not talking here about the manifest suffering. So the cause of the suffering, that's it. So as if one child burns his, sometimes mothers advise their husband that the kid has to learn something. So say like, let the child, don't only just tell the kid to don't touch this something burning thing. So then once he touch it, then he learned a strong lesson. Like now, whenever you see that kind of a thing, the child cannot say, you cannot think very carefully, but whenever he sees this, then hesitation is there always. I am not going to touch this again. This is the attitude at this moment at the middle scope. we have to come to this point. So this is how now we conclude. This concludes the explanation of the stages of path. Okay, so now we are jumping to the biggest conclusion of this book. Tane lamji tuwa chungse jikjoba chates. Da lamyo tongma tsawa shinye tensu da tubi dipal tubi dasha chips. Da di tanda mikse malam tidu di wali li. Kono chula shandi da tanda di jik ko lamji tsawa kiwe shinye tensu du go kolo shagoya de ko demjegi chuni. Demjegi chuni ko tsawa yin ko demjegi chuni di 강 레벨 다 이나야 개 친구 인단지 워를 지름 시대 기회신이 가져 자신 거인 것 같아. 대내 대화를 닝불된 다디 기부 중국 거들. 네. 아주 상으로 다다데 드린 기부 중국 거 시에비자 이 기부 중국 거를 가지 노두지 손을 잠배 대내 대회 때다스다 대회 대화라 닝부 랜드 점마 뭐인 버지 나스 디이 균도 주발라 나니 그왜 사 대기 위치도 된적이 거나 딱 간지 기부 중국 값으로 된적이 밀려를 붙였다. 될 시부 지금 아주 맞습니다. 당에 달에 이제 밀려기 된 자침부 토비야데 니아가 같은데 자침부도 다 지금 최주백이 고급지라가 되기 전에 막 자침부 지기 위해서 선도지 수고요레스 되지 손셔.
So it begins with, now I will give a brief summation of the general meaning of the path. At the outset, the root of the path derives from your reliance upon a teacher, so consider this seriously. And so here we haven't gone into the presentation of the way to rely on a spiritual teacher. There's actually the more important practice for us is coming after that, but this is put here at the beginning as it's the root of the path, and it's like the Dindali Chuni is like the nature of the dependent arising. So because it's for it relies upon the independence upon the teacher. So it's the nature of dependent arising. Therefore, this one goes first. But then what we're looking at more is what comes to follow. So then, once you have developed an uncontrived desire to take advantage of your leisure, this desire will spur you to practice continually. Therefore, in order to develop this, meditate on the topics connected with leisure and opportunity. So, recognizing that we have this human life, this precious human life, which is difficult to come by, it's difficult to get a precious human life, and once we've got it, to recognize the value of this human life, that with it we can use it to practice the Dharma. So recognizing that we have this precious human life and then making good use of it for the Dharma.
Not like the attitude, it's my life, whatever I want to do, I can do. Mm-hmm. Not this type of thing. You need to be very serious. So how are you going to function, use this intelligence, this very special brain? So how are you going to use this better than the animals? Better than some of the people who really waste their lives. So now I am going to use this to be such very careful that what in the future lives, I wanted to be super careful. I wanted to enjoy my life, not only this life, also my next life. That kind of caring, that kind of real, this is the best insurance policy that in the middle scope it talks about. That's why in the middle scope main practice is always bringing awareness of the whether the 10 non-virtuous action is occurring in your mind, and the action is going to be because of that led the Chirochi do a say again, Tenshi Tembuchin Denche, and Churin
So having the awareness or mindfulness on the actions that we're engaging in, and so being aware of how we're going about our activities, then applying this ethical discipline to our behavior.
Partine Tizi Jigo Temple, Tizi Sarwa, Odidi Gant Lasha. Tizi is Tizi Tundu, Never, Lonema, Lonamato, Malonas, Sedinangi, Lobashidi Malona, Jidin Chimala Tunigi, Lotavo Mechunwe. Lui Tova de Rindu, Medebe, Medava, Shinin, and Rochemsu Kombala Bear, Setaki Chumuti, and that Medava Samlodami, Kepsanandi, Medava Samlodam, Chiwa Samlodami, Kepsanandi, Teddy Trolaman, Chedu, Kepsanandi, Sundwa.
So, what came above and what follows is at the moment the path of the small capacity being. So, unless you stop the various sentiments which seek the aims of this life, you will not diligently seek the aims of future lives. So the small scope being is not just thinking of the happiness of this life, they're also working towards future lives. So work at meditating on how the body you have is impermanent, in the sense that it will not last for long, and on how after death you will wander into the miserable realms. And so and at that time, by creating a genuine awareness which is mindful of the frights of the miserable realms, so no, it was up to there, yeah. So for after death, you will wander into the miserable realms. So this is some of the benefits of the reflections that we do for being of the small scope, reflecting on the impermanent nature and that death is coming. Then we have the benefit of making us not waste this life.
So also, tadi di wo de tara li do. Di si jigo tembe lon nema keves. Ani kyabsu yu yonde na ning tapane nyaba jela yani kyamdo tumong bi dombala ne chin ti labjala labcha sta.
So at that time, by generating a genuine awareness, which is mindful of the frights of the miserable realms, build certainty from the depths of your heart about the qualities of the three refuges, and be constant in the common vow of going for refuge and train in its precepts.
Tene kajo tamjigi shichimbo lendele yi chibe teba gotumani gebala temba chadi ge migi ju ane judo la bejin topshi lamdo gyundu shubashik chas.
Be constant in the common vow. Then, from a range of perspectives, develop faith in the sense of conviction in karma and its effects, this being the great foundation of all positive qualities. Make this faith firm and strive to cultivate the 10 virtues and to turn away from the 10 non-virtues, and always stay within the path of the 4 powers.
대들 기부중의 추고나로 차수 추버체나 코아지의 제작이 님이 망도 상라스 차수 추버를 제발 주나스 코아지의 제작이 님이 망도 상라 코아지를 로 지도자 얘네 코아 관의 준비 교례다 명무 용어 손에 대본도 제마마 임베지 아니 코아 레주벨랑 라바숨 지라 예바타지 켜봐도 랑기 강 캐랑베 소소 타발라 배버차고스 너다디 기부 중무다 기부 등기 버루기다 튼삼들이.
So when you have thus trained well in the teachings associated with a person of small capacity and have made this practice firm, you should contemplate often the general and specific faults of cyclic existence, and in general turn your mind away from cyclic existence as much as you can. Then, having identified the nature of karma and the afflictions, the causes from which cyclic existence arises, create an authentic desire to eliminate them. Develop a broad certainty about the path that liberates you from cyclic existence, i.e. the three trainings, and particularly make effort at whichever of the vows of individual liberation you have taken So this paragraph is like the bridge linking the being of small capacity with the being of medium capacity.
제가 다디 나로를 통다 직디지 조정아 이게 가장 아주 다 코와 강리 코와 디로가 코웨님이 마도 상다 세티 기부 중국 슈 티체 차바다 아니 코웨님이 마도 공 아니 코와 지다 차다게 수수르기 동에도 파 공치 아니 람상랑 신기 아니 디기 코와 코지기다 코와 된지 동에 된지 동에 지지게 주디 가르기 쳐버려 세 삼로들 내원들 잠배 아니 신의 된지기 가서래 다디 봉두비 삼바들 내원들 잠배 아니 라바송기 냠nen데 최고도 세 삼로 내원들 잠배 다 기부 중기 삼바 비다고 지게도 봐.
So as it says here that you should contemplate often the general and specific faults of cyclic existence, and in general turn your mind away from cyclic existence as much as you can. So the more that we think about all the problems and faults and suffering within cyclic existence, then the more we generate the genuine wish to abandon it, to get rid of all those problems of the suffering of cyclic existence, right? So then once we have this strong wish to get rid of that suffering, to abandon it, then we turn our mind to the 3 higher trainings, which is the path to overcome it. And then this is bringing the mind to the stages of the path of the medium capacity being.
So we spent almost 10 days on this short paragraph here. We did a great job. So 대들 기우 딩기 초월놈 차수 수바 나사 라니 시수를 홍한 지신 두 만남장 텐라워를 송와 일아 제대 참바된 이제 제와 청주기 셈다 디 찌개와 백거대 되면은 친두당 리미소 망매기 사 토체바 당 자워지고 이노 무슨 다디 다 기부 신부를 한들.
When you have thus trained well in the teachings associated with a person of medium capacity and have made this practice firm, consider the fact that just as you yourself have fallen into the ocean of cyclic existence, so have all beings, your mothers. Train in the spirit of enlightenment, which is rooted in love and compassion, and strive to develop this as much as you can. Without it, the practices of the 6 perfections and the 2 stages are like stories built on a house with no foundation.
So now here it is a great hint that unless you don't have quite a strong understanding and a practice of the first scope and the middle scope, so then how much you talk about bodhicitta and compassion. And now, as Lama Tsongkhapa says, how much beautiful, where is that, the stories, like the beautiful stories
built on the house with no foundation.
Built on a house with no foundation. Let's say even there is a foundation, that foundation is built by a very uneducated engineer. And then you paid so much money already. So this is very important. So many of people now, as why these stages of path become so important, because we have to appreciate. If you really appreciate to become a Buddha, then you need to appreciate bodhicitta. If you really appreciate bodhicitta, you need to appreciate great compassion. If you really wanted to appreciate great compassion, then you have to feel your connection to the Mother Sentient Being is. It's not just like feeling a stranger. It's more like it becomes so personal to you. So in order to bring this, then of course it works for two ways. One is first that you have to know how to deal with your negative emotions and to get rid of that kind of negative emotions. And you have felt this solution. And then you will feel like, wish I can give to them first. So then once you have this understanding, of course, even the great practitioners who has a great, on the liberation path, they wanted to do it, but then they get so tired. Like, I had a strong compassion towards them, but then now I cannot do it. It happens. So then in order to boost that up, then once you see the going much deeper of the kindness, seeing the kindness of sentient being, and then you feel like so close, like the connection is so close to them. Oh, that becomes so important for as a seed to bring the great compassion, not just the compassion. So then, chamba sede, simje dungel da telna nyam chimarong sede ningjiri, simje dewa nando na chimarong nyamba de chamba chaguyore, chamba jebala nyala simje de yiduwa. Chico Yangudu Sam, Susu Chishi Pong Yiduwa Shina Pena Amachi Susu Pugul Shiru Chigi Zawayade, Pugula Ninji Yoga Zamare, Chamba Yoga Zamare, Yoga the Joe Carson, Yung Sambo Shiruji Yiduwa, the Shiruji Tsarva. And they do them Maranzo give Simjan Tamjela Yat and the Dumim, the old piece Gedi Dunga da Tenachi Maron. Dewa dandana chimarong ningu yorede, ene simjin tila dunga duktum, dunga da chawa nye chawo nyabe leya di karajan, yidu ngwe samlo di shukchimbo cherba, tanme sanchibo.
So, thinking about love and compassion being the wish to free sentient beings from suffering, and love, the wish for others sentient beings to have happiness. So these arise through this sense of having a sense of appealing or attractive nature, or appealingness, seeing others as appealing, like the same way a mother sees her child with this real sense of closeness, this appealingness, this closeness to the child, that not only they wish to be free of suffering, but I myself will alleviate their pain, I myself will take away their suffering. So we need to cultivate this compassion and this love. They're not just wishing the others to be free of suffering and to have happiness, but the compassion, the compassion that wishes to free all sentient beings from suffering. I myself will do it, and the love, the wishing all beings to be happy. I myself will give them happiness. This comes from having this sense of appealingness, or real closeness, affection, closeness, this affectionate love towards others.
Yeah, we can learn from the one mother, her own child. When that child is sick, then mother cannot deal with that kind of suffering. She will do all the necessary to cure that kind of suffering of her own kid. But then there is another baby next to her, that is somebody's. But then she will bring also great compassion, like wish I can help this kid. But then she has two choices to make, either yours or her. But then her is in a little bit better situation than the other one. And then the mother will make a decision. In an ordinary level, mother will choose her son, her kid, then other, because that she has a kind of reason there actually. They have a very special bond, right? There's a very special bond which we call the Yidunga. Yidunga how do you translate it? Appealing or not appealing? How do you say that?
Sometimes it's with objects of feeling, this sense of closeness. Sometimes attractiveness, sometimes appealing, sometimes closeness. It depends on the context.
So putting lots of reasons actually, that you need to bring certain reasons into that. This is my own kid, this is my own kind of, you have to bring this reason, not just like only biological or so on, but the reason. So then you apply this same reason to others, then you will feel like yes. So this one, when you have it, then of course there will be no kind of a bias feelings towards the sentient being, and through that you bring more stronger compassion. And then once you feel like I wanted to give these teachings to them, and I can wait patiently to give this teaching to each and every sentient beings, having this making commitment, and many bodhisattvas and make a special kind of a commitment, which is the bodhisattva vows. That becomes very special. So all the stages of that kind of path, now Lama Tsongkhapa is making to get idea to get a fully enlightenment, which is connected to by one. At the top, where in the middle scope, you really have to find this life very precious, to find that I'm not going to misuse this the precious human life and use this for such a great purpose. Starting from that, and then until the full enlightenment, there are some connections. Lama Tsongkhapa, before he wrote this book, at the beginning, he says, many practitioners, they don't practice through having understanding of these stages, and they never allow, he will give us also advice here. So not having a quite lamgi lu yongsu zoba, so having the full facility.
Yeah, the full complete body of the stages.
Not having that understanding, and many people go on the path to practice. So then he said, I cannot bear to see this, that how much they are wasting their time. So this is why I'm writing this book. So out of compassion, he wrote this. So this is how he's giving this in a very nice, the end how he's put it, like without it, the practices of the 6 perfections and the 2 stages are like stories built on a house with no foundation. Yeah, that is much more. Chabadi is using John with them and she do tell her, you want them to tend to Juliana chocolate on us. Tashini chocolate said, ritual said, chocolate said. You want Nelma tend to Juliana's, that's chocolate to give it away. Depending on 제가 아주 초가데 그도 당고 요리했어요. 요즘에 다시네 말하는 주주려야 인중이 좋아서 그렇지 가 전주기 심기 좋아서 그렇지 가 닝지기 좋아서 그렇지 가 루바 플레이버스 그렇지 레온도 좀 인티 냠으로 냠으로 제가 시네 초가 당고 그러다 초가 당고서 탑나서 제가 그랬어요. 탑나서 가르쳐 버렸으나 아니 상제도 전주 생발로 쳐 비어 선전을 집어 당하면서 다시네 진수 퍼센트인데 가르쳐야 yang tenji che gu yu na music dang che gu yu na dance type che gu yu na samata bi ji.
So when you develop a little experience of the spirit of enlightenment, confirm it with the rite. So here it mentions about a ritual or a rite which you take up once you've developed a little experience of this spirit or mind of enlightenment. And so that's when it becomes an appropriate time, when you get the flavour or the taste of this precious human life, and this flavour and taste of renunciation, the determination to be free of suffering, and a flavour and a taste of the bodhicitta, the wish to free all sentient beings and suffering. When you get a flavour or a taste of something, when you get the taste of it, then you really want to take it up, then it's the appropriate time to engage in the ritual. All right. And then the way to take up to engage in the practices of this, like this ritual, then there can be many ways of making offerings, like making offerings to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, or giving to sentient beings, practicing generosity. You can offer singing and dancing and all the wonderful things that you enjoy. You can offer these things up as you practice.
So because this is a very special day, today, that time, so then you celebrate. This is how you go to one of the best restaurants and party yourself. Tiramisu. That's the mantra. Actually, the tiramisu, the word, it has a very great meaning. Maybe many people tiramisu, but the what it means has a very special meaning. Yeah. So tiramisu, when in Italy, my friend told me the meaning of the tiramisu is, say, if you translate, it means lift me up. See, so that's really, this is time now, you're really lifting. So this is the time to eat tiramisu. See, okay. So that's the chanju gusim jo lapshen nyanda ta tene di dang anju chanju gusim majeba geba khone khone be tabshi chi yorwa de indu zumbe anati labja da benes memba jiden chas tabo majeba geba che tene chanju gusim jo labcha wala nyen las nyen ba che ane jugdo bi changnam sheba da te lobyo tabu ji ane theda geba na jugdom gi chobyo songdas 다 마제바 코네 평도 비에 탑시라다 도바송고 요르와 아래 정규 멤버십 버징이 투 신규 멤버십에 되어 모고시다 라오스 다시네 제수 버징 투비 냠nen디 신규 다 정규 멤버 신규 신한의 파 팬비체도 아니 제야다 전주선 비기도 친구 냠nen들이 아니 랑 신규 멤버십도 하면 도에 모고시 슬라도 점베 미 샴바님도다 가르쳐 되게 뭐시 시도 준비 또 신규 멤버 시도 준비 신기 랑라 예비 연된 tel야 멤버께 해지 가와 쇠도 가지고 요리스 내나도 와
Just to clarify, we're saying about offering the songs and the dance, like Rinpoche clarified at the end, it's like when you actually take up this rite, or this ritual for taking up bodhicitta, then it's the time to celebrate and offer all the singing and dancing and things. So I didn't make that link before, but that's clear now, yeah. So, by making effort in this training, make the aspiration as solid as you can. Then study the great waves of the bodhisattva deeds, learning the boundaries of what is to discard and what to adopt, and make a strong wish to train in these bodhisattva deeds. So here we're looking at the practice of giving rise to the bodhicitta that has not yet been given rise to, and then the stages for increasing that bodhicitta and preventing it from declining. So first is the giving rise to the bodhicitta what has not yet been given rise to. So again, then study the great waves of the bodhisattva deeds, learning the boundaries of what to discard and what to adopt, and make a strong wish to train in those bodhisattva deeds. So that's facts to give rise to it. Then after you have developed these attitudes, take the vow of the engaged spirit of enlightenment, or bodhicitta, through its rite or ritual, and train in the 6 perfections that mature your own mind, and the 4 ways of gathering disciples which mature the minds of others. So you increase in the bodhicitta and engaging in the training of the 6 perfections, generosity and so forth, and practicing not just for ripening your own mind, but also to benefit others through training in these practices.
그냥 되게 먹으시 되고 메도
Language.
되게 먹으시 민지지 두시스도 두시소라 랍스 두시세데 과도 there's something for 과도
4 ways of gathering disciples.
never mind our ways of gathering disciples.
There.
So this is a very one of the greatest way to gathering disciples or more friends. This is a very good for us actually. If you really wanted to make people to really with a positive mind, of course, to attract your practice, and then people start loving you and following you to gain more followers. So what really Bodhisattvas practice is, first of all, they practice generosity, not just giving money, but even their service, patience, and spending quality time with them, not making a huge scenes of you are a little upset and you make lots of drama, not sort of like that, showing all this. This is all giving. This generosity. Then the second one is the so how do you translate it? Not sweet talks. How do you say that?
Speaking gently or nicely.
I don't call it sweet talk. Sweet talk is something very funny in English. How do you translate? I don't know. Something. What was that? Pleasant to the ears. The pleasant, maybe pleasant to the ears. So then the third one, now it's becoming more serious. The third one is to tell them what is right and wrong path. Through compassion, you teach them. And then the fourth one is not only teaching them what is right and wrong, but you are practicing it. So that's, I think the fourth one is the most hard part. So this is the four ways of gathering disciples. So actually, if you focus on that practice, you will automatically get. You really don't need to do a lot of marketing. It's like you are kind of a sugar, huge candy, and then you really don't need to tell the ants, please come. So automatically it will come to you. So this is the practice of the Bodhisattva. So we need to, if you need more friends, this is the way you do it. 다때네 개발도 저동을 배웠다고 소되자. 나 사동도 송 다문에 전에 이 청주선비기 저동도 저도 얘기다. 지기 심전을 내게비 개원에 송대 아니 대조 참만이 자원이 지금에서는 속도의 차스 아니 사과 중 딩스다 녀모 충ዋ다 딩와다 내가 제가 나가 막여봐라 매버지지 녀모가 내가도 좀 막여버지지 왜나에 치주 제가라서 다디 지기 피로파이 제가라서 아니 제가 배도스 다 대니 더버디버디 지구샤
So in particular, risk your life in making a great effort to avoid the root infractions. So you have this really strong intention to do what it takes to, not even at the cost of your life, to not engage in the root negativities. And then striving to not be tainted by the small and intermediate contaminants and their faults. Even if you're tainted, work to repair it. So just guiding your actions and being careful not to engage in any negativities or faults, and as soon as you notice that you have, then to repair or purify it.
So in the Bodhisattva's way of practicing that all how they avoid doing negative karma, negative actions, negative whatever the negative emotions, how they control not this if I do this kind of thing, then I will end up in miserable places. Not that. The Bodhisattva will give one solid reason. I'm not going to, because it brings harm to others. So that is more powerful than saying for the Bodhisattvas, it is very bad. I cannot do this. This is for the Bodhisattva. It's not a much big deal, because the day and night, what the Bodhisattvas main focus is try to bring bodhicitta. So his whole the reason is when it brings harm to the sentient beings, I cannot do it. So very powerful. 제자가 되네 마음이 되네 퍼진 탐만이다 쳐봐도 로그 something 중로를 쳐봐라 저로 띵띵해서 그래서 다 된저 연대 나를 쉐베 연대다 안에 라바도 녀모라야 지기 벌써래 님부 된다라 소바도 줄이야 축축부지 레오도 잠베 아니 띵띵해서 두게 성도된 거였어 아니 라운 좀 전도시 신 좀 전도시네 아니 녀모메가 수요고도 잠베 녀모메가 수요에게 타들라 아니 다지기 셈 때문에 뭐든 지금에도 쓰나 띵해서 줘. 다 띵해서 주베 디야 띵해서 잠시기 주베 팽기면도 아니 다음에 이게 따와 딱셔도 제외게 아니 따와 남다지 줄을 깨버치고 도스지지 아니 냐바다 딱도 테르샤스 다 디치도 아니 말하고 무슨 다 지금 소소게 땅 고사 냐다 아니 나와도 지기 가르를 당고 있는 디가도 다 노동 체제 아니 대를 샤네서 경배 경춘남 남버다고 시작을 경화 차고서 다디네 아주 슈잡서 조직다 디가는 그래서
So then, because you must train specifically in the two final perfections, become knowledgeable in the way to sustain meditative stabilization and then achieve concentration. So, recognizing the qualities of what we've looked at above and developing this strong determination to antidote the afflictions, our disturbing emotions, we see that we need to cultivate concentration, or here meditative stabilization. And we need to develop this meditative stabilization to make our minds stable. And it's not enough just to make our minds stable. We also need to get the actual antidote to those afflictions, which is to realize the view of selflessness. So as it says here, as much as you can, develop the view of the two selflessnesses, a purity free from permanence and annihilation, so free from the two extremes. After you have found the view and stabilized your mind upon it, understand the proper way to sustain the view in meditation and then do so. And such stabilization and wisdom are called serenity or calm abiding and insight. but they're not something separate from the last two perfections.
Never understand Paul. Okay. Tato sha se tu kwa gyurdu. De tanda sikdi gyurdu tina. Tene dirdu ati. Tenjegi tenjabi samden da sheravira hadong min taba yinjis.
I accidentally read that already.
Did we?
Such a stabilization and wisdom are called serenity and insight, but they're not something separate from the last two perfections.
Nyebatan tisha. Ta tene samden pojin tamani lis subashi mebes changsingyu nomba sone ti labja lalobe and semyongwa yinos. Ta tenyang ta di nengata dom chiju jigre diyang oma gumjin koma tomde chero rowa jikche. Tene koma nyembana oma dumde chichero rowa jik. 중보이나 아니 알아 저기다 기부 중호 기본중 기부 첨부 해야 될이야 되게 숨기 냠낸 될이야 견담해 봐 아니 신이 저기 가르쳐 그래 중원디 기부 중호 초고디 영도 기부 등을 저도요 봐 기부 중들 레도 기부 첨부 찬도요 도시래 다 되네 공매기 아니 고모 공매기 아니 지금 연텐도 전주 무슨 평양에서 더 시험도 잠에 다 뒤용 말라 아니 맞기고 등기 남샤도 마신 등미도 기부 등기 남샤디 시험발에 기부 충이 남샤 맞은 등미도 세류다 로중당 로도 고하나신 지뷰 다고지 이거 각 대삼에 가지고 개베이나 자신의 런정 떠버도 당부들 다디
So therefore, after you have taken the bodhisattva vows, they come about in the context of training and its precepts. So here we get to a really important point. You have reached the critical point when, while meditating on the lower levels, you increasingly wish to attain the higher levels. And when studying the higher levels, you wish to practice the lower levels become stronger and stronger. So when you're meditating on the lower levels, so the practices of the beings of the small scope, that gradually motivates you to seek to train in the practices of the medium scope, which then, as you practice in that then leads you to want to engage in the higher scope practices of bodhicitta and six perfections and so forth. So through contemplating well on the lower levels, then of the lower scope, it leads you onto the practices of the medium scope, which leads you on to wanting to engage in the practices of the higher scope. And likewise, it says when studying the higher levels, you wish to practice the lower levels become stronger and stronger. So when you're engaging in the learning and training of the higher levels, you see the more and more need that if I don't have a stable practice of the medium scope, then there's no way for the higher scope to come about. And likewise, if there's not a strong practice of the small scope, there's no way for the medium scope to come about well. And so looking in both the forward and reverse orders of the stages of the path, then you get this real understanding and to realize the stages of the path.
그런데 이게 넘정비 subject는 그래야 tempa 탐지 개면도 또 봤어. tempa 탐지 개화면 말했어. 상지 송을 개화요 말했어. No contradiction between the Buddha's teaching.
All of this, yeah. So I forgot to mention this. So then you also, when you're reflecting on this connection between the stages, then you see that there's no contradiction in the Buddha's teachings of all of the teachings, the earlier and the later parts.
어디 잡다. 송어 인지 생아마 지에메 버려. 다 딘디리. 개데디 메베이나 아마남 지에메 버려. 샘기 내차레 잠다. 다 따위기 고화장 레라 네버 tuklo che kyang sa ne don ro ne shin du ka be lam ji lu yong so zo ba shi la ne ba chang go ba yi no sta de ne de to si chi ma shong du ta ji ta ma che chi cha go ning ka de ka tu da.
So some say to expend your energy only to stabilize your mind and to understand the view, ignoring all the earlier topics, but this makes it very difficult to get the vital points. here is a really important point. We need to see that we need to take it all on board.
Oh, very important this. Now you know, so that didn't go between Toba Jamachi, Lonam, China Bajico days, that China was there, somebody shoot down the Kashi and Chigi, Chanju some Jew shoot down, Nijun shoot Madia, the name the Carsore, Maranzuta, Dinaro to Jim and I don't know so what among the shoot, the only shoot in the Madia, and Chanju simply shoot, chickens, dead and pinga maris. Then allow the Nijungu some logic level, and call Chida Chetag and Napcha Tamjigi. Tolia, some of this Madame Cheji, and it's a dig Shabalo, some she get any Jungi, some of the happy Maris, Chesanga to put down the Yaning to Shashavina, the Jiggy, Nangat, some of those Joseph and Shavina, China Pudu, Dedis and Goma, Kajites chair, Kajitus join, the Zawin Maris.
So therefore you must develop certainty about the whole course of the path. When you meditate on these topics, train your understanding and then go back to balance your mind. So balance your mind here, the balancing means like to see all of the trainings as equal in value. So it's not that you're only emphasizing the practice of bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment. We're not only focusing on renunciation. There are so many trainings, like the practice of the training in the sixfold cause and effect for cultivating bodhicitta, or the training in looking at all the faults. The training in giving up the happiness of just this life and focusing on the happiness of future lives. So we don't want to hone in on just any one of those. If we were to lay them all out on the table, it's not that like some of them would be higher and some of them would be lower in their size and in their weight. Actually, we want to be able to see them all as level, all as equal in their importance, and train in them all.
Chesanga Lamlia, any TV, Bena, Betchasha, do Zambe, any Lambda teaching ki, Gevishi, the Church Archibus, and thinking a Lama Delia, the Didania Troublesome Rogeresi, a soul the Biber Jivin, and a quote over you, the Gazan, Ludu shape, Ludu shape, Tanda Zumuchi Dana, Yomochi, Ludu shape on Nigazan. Nigazan Ludu shape, Zola. The Jomden de Sheshu Galaya, and Yomochi or this, the Jomden de Gundunia, Sunju Shuadro, and the Sunju Shuandroni, and Jumudelia. Chud apu, and Tawajig do say, because I need to shape at Tindoanilla, or did that, the Besha. Chesanga Dindrigi, thank you. Dindrigi, any Chesan Bena, Kurmania person roboti, Gavishini Tinsus roboti, Days Chungchin, Shabbatuzol, Jiggy, Lamjim, non-ship to Putawichi, Gavishini Tinsu, Desma, Suru, Des Chunju Chavina. And Toki was or dinner Cheche, Zawaki, Givishini Tinjuni, Sunday, and Ya, Tajiki, Tarach, Jiki, Sandy Kumaso, Taja, Dorishan Kuman, on the Mashiki Padu, the Josama, Lam Jiki, Namshadodan Samalo, Pound the Wooden, Hakot Buddhist.
So if it seems that your faith in the teacher who instructs you on the path is decreasing, so this will cut the root of everything good that has come together. Work for the methods of relying on the teacher. So here we're reminded of the biography of the story that Rinpoche shared with us before already, of the way to rely on a spiritual friend. At the time of the Buddha, there was the servant and the woman who offered the butter lamp or the
Do you remember the story where the queen, which she cannot go directly to the teaching? Yeah, this one.
Yeah, sorry.
What this one?
I didn't finish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, did that?
Sorry, completely got the story. You remember the story, which I forgot. Yeah. So with the queen and her attendant and servant who then got the teachings. So this is the teaching on seeing the value of relying on the spiritual teacher, because if you don't rely on the spiritual teacher, then you won't get the realizations, right? If you don't rely on the spiritual teacher, then all the realizations of the path will not come. So that's why the relying on the spiritual teacher is the one that's put at the start, and then it's really important to train in the stages in the right order.
So it's very important when one of my teacher would say, when we practice Buddhicitta, then when he gives the Buddhicitta vow, and then he will say, now see the kindness of the mother sentient being. So incredible, we need to repeat the kindness. So if you cannot see the kindness of this life's father and mother who has given you so much actually, and if you don't see this kindness, and how you are going to generate the great Buddhicitta? So please go back to home and please give a good hug and start with that. Very, very practical. So there's so much in the Indian custom. So we were as a proud Indian, in a good part, where we have this tradition in the family that how you have to lower yourself, right? And then put your feet near to the feet of your father and mother. So that means like how much I become so well educated and successful, but I will remain and I will remember your kindness, the value you have given from the beginning, that I put near to your feet. So that is one of the biggest tradition of in the Indian knowledge. Very rich. Yes, of course, I know people, they will always think like, I don't have a good relation with my parents. And some say like, they really didn't do very good to me. So we are giving the general idea. If you look at the animals realm, if unconditional love is something that we can see from the bond between the mother. Even you look at the planet, animal planet, how the pigeon, the father and the mother is asked to sacrifice a lot. So even the concentration of the father putting the egg underneath his kind of special blanket he has at the winter time, and then how mother goes for so many months to get a fish food. Just thinking about that, the kindness of the parents, is incredible. But don't necessarily you have to focus on my father is like this. Go to the more broader side. Just don't get fixed with like, what about my father? Not here don't have to debate on my father has to be perfect. It's general, kind of the unconditional love. That is we have to focus. Incredible. So this, all this becomes so necessary to bring our. You need to put that in order to generate bodhicitta. That's very incredible. The touch the care of that Dirisha. The general Tushuna Tenjogi Tadine, the day Sambotan de Gablas, that the Lamla Tishindu, Dubala, Tushuchunas, Tangara Yamenche Gabla, any Toa de Pachunduna, any Tenjogi Quarter, Sedilla, Monshin Chavers, Sona, medabada inge duni me ko kelam be jebadi kan pa dosene ni naming chawan roduna lentel ya kadikyo kadesa lentel ya ba chwa lentel ya na do sa ko ta la gyeshi chwa je chwa ba yin 타와 되니기 직접된 쪽에 거의 님이상 지지 심진의 정도 집에 로슈 다 미나나 대진기 자와 집에 메시면 유나 제발로 망도자 제세기 도발라나 제발 럽나야 세머를 준비 칭왕 슈다 나나 리시기 세머 준비 로소미 미디어 탐지 시글라 나갔다고도 규모다고 동리를 로자 심 계획이 미고를 민대바 남용의 전도 교나 시집이 내차라 쪽으로 좀 거와 고만한 게 송대 대천에 마셔봤는데 셰벌 잘라 너나 초래 와송와 규 계획초 탐제를 끄도록 하시 다 요모 카드들이 그래서 니게 보시면 남게전 바로 전주 생기 저벌 셰르기 뭘 하동을 지들을 수남 시에서 와서 다 되버려다
Similarly, if your joy in practice loses strength, make meditation on topics connected with leisure and opportunity your primary focus. If your attachment to this life increases, make meditation on impermanence and the faults of the miserable rounds your primary focus. If you seem to be lazy about the prescriptions you have accepted, consider that your certainty about karmic cause and effect is meager, and make meditation on karma and its effects your primary focus. If your sense of disenchantment with all of cyclic existence decreases, your desire to seek liberation will become just words. Therefore, contemplate the faults of cyclic existence. If your intention to benefit living beings in whatever you do is not strong, then you will sever the root of the Mahayana. Therefore, frequently cultivate the aspirational mind of enlightenment together with its causes. Once you have taken the vows of a converse child and are training in the practices, if the bondage of the rarefying conception of signs seems strong, use reasoning consciousnesses to destroy all objects which are apprehended by the mind which conceives of signs, and train your mind in the space-like and illusion-like emptiness. If your mind is enslaved to distraction and does not remain on a virtuous object, you should primarily sustain one-pointed stability, as former teachers have said. From these illustrations, you should understand the cases I have not explained. In brief, without being partial, you have to be able to use the whole spectrum of virtues. Among the stages of the path of persons of great capacity, I have explained how one who trains in the Bodhisattva practice, in Bodhisattva path, practices insight, which is wisdom.
So in this, in the Lama Tsongkhapas, you should understand the cases I have not explained. That sounds quite pushing towards us. But what does that mean is it's the summary. Whatever in this, what something that needs to bring into the summary, but the Lama Tsongkhapa didn't put it. So you really need to understand that. That's the takeaway. So now this, in this brief practice, he emphasized very strongly when this obstacle comes within our practice, where to emphasize. There are 3 or 4 antidotes there, very important for the practitioners. So now, so I have talked a lot, and then I think through the kindness of you all and the Tushita, I could go through this text and then how much benefit is there to you all, I don't know. But one of the most benefit which who has got is me, for sure. that I could say proudly. So this is why it comes from you all. So I wanted to thank you very much to give me this opportunity. And so now, what is the takeaway from all this teaching? In the future, whenever somebody says, I'm practicing Dharma, then this has to occur in your mind. Then you know, even you don't know how to practice, you really don't practice it, but then you know how to ask a question to others. You can make somebody's life difficult. So you say, I'm doing a Vipassana practices. Then yes. So that Vipassana practices, how that will bring a peace of mind. How long? You can now bring this. All this importance. So we need to bring some kind of practice that is the infinite happiness. So what are the chances? So if we stay in the which are the causes for the only temporarily happiness, and then it is more like you are going to escape from the situation for a moment. So then we really need to pay attention if there is a kind of a cessation. Is there something some kind of practice that I don't need to go into this kind of situation again. Enough is enough. We say this. So this is how you start practicing Dharma. Yeah. So and especially special request for the people who practice Dharma. Please, even your practice might be much better than me. But then Lama Tsongkhapa said, particularly 1 or 2, 3 practice that you are very, very comfortable, you are doing very well. But if you really don't have this general view and the structure of this, the whole structure of this practice, then you shouldn't be so full of pride. This is something that you need to consider to bring this kind of practice into you. So that is this Lama Tsongkhapa has given this teaching to the particularly who are serious practitioners, very serious practitioners. In the beginning he said this, because he stayed as a Lama Tsongkhapa stayed as a very common silbe, Gyuma, generally, Gyuma, in a common, like a very common monk, simple monk. And then he attempted to see how other practitioners are practicing. So then he, day and night, he not only he does this practice, then he always tried to connect the dots. This is not enough, but we need more of this. So Lama Tsongkhapa's main focus is Buddha and Nagarjuna. So that's why His Holiness Dalai Lama, why we are so feel comfortably on the near to His Holiness Dalai Lama is His Holiness Dalai Lama always focus on Lama Tsongkhapa, yes, of course, but why? Biggest reason is Buddha Shakyamuni and his one of the greatest disciple, Nagarjuna, who knows Buddha's viewpoint very A to Z. So This is why. Okay, so thank you. So now we do the dedication. We do the dedication and we do the Lamrim prayer. So I will lead the Lamrim prayer. Okay. I forgot the tone, my goodness. Oh yeah, that's it. You go like this. Sambo Shibe Yawa Tamji Owa Gawa Zobo Mawa Ashi Gebe Anzawa Digunya Sambo Chichi Raudu Jogi Maya Chaya Nyambara Yube Shode Ninje Chimbe Yira Jawai
Swasti, may all be auspicious. No
This
time.
you can do it tomorrow.
Today is tomorrow.
Huh?
Today, young.
No, tomorrow is good enough. You request me, I will stay. Even you don't stay, you don't say I stay.